Hi everyone, Gianni DePoce here with you for TheoTRADE, and today is Tuesday, the 5th of November, 2024. It's election day, and markets are on the move. We're seeing a pretty nice rally, and we saw a lot of really good signals internally in the market on Monday. That has continued here into Tuesday. And I'm not going to say that it's pointing to a victory from either candidate necessarily, because I think that you could slice and dice it however you want to make your case. But the good news is that I think regardless of who wins, the bull market in stocks is going to continue higher. I think you might look for some certain sectors of the market to outperform depending on the candidate. But the good news is that stock markets like both presidents from their respective parties, that is, regardless of whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, stocks tend to do well. Yes, there are instances where stocks do better under a certain party from a presidential standpoint, but a lot of it also depends on who controls Congress. And we could see Congress flip today. And don't forget that that's where the power to make laws, the power to raise or lower taxes really comes from, is Congress. So don't lose sight of the bigger picture here. Let's get into the charts now. Take a look at the S&P. Looks like we're bouncing off of former resistance turned support of this ascending triangle pattern. And it looks like we just completed a higher low with respect to the longer term trend. This is a good sign. Now, granted, you actually need to rally and eventually make a new high here, and I think we're close to doing so. But I've been talking about the need for the Nasdaq 100 futures to make a new all-time high for a couple of months, and you're probably sick of me talking about that, but it really is such an important thing that we need to see. We have seen the Nasdaq cash composite make a new high. I'm seeing some good things in some of the big tech names. The top performing sector year to date now is communications again. It was the top performing sector last week, undoubtedly helped by Google's strong earnings beat. Google has faded from that initial gap up, but it looks like here too you are retesting former resistance turn support of this inverted head and shoulders pattern. And if this holds and creates a higher low, I think Google will resume its longer term bull trend, which is particularly interesting because they are still grappling with a lot of antitrust issues and legal issues for that matter. But if a stock can respond to bad news in a good way, that's usually indicative that the trend is strong in that direction. So it's looking good, and it's the communication sector is also being helped by Netflix, which is pressing up against its highs. I want to take a look at semiconductors with you. You are seeing chips still outperform. It's so very important that we see a higher low form here instead of this being basically a digestion of the losses. So you had that nasty gap down last week and a close near the lows, and stocks have pretty much traded in that range from the 31st of October ever since. But if we can complete this as a higher low and start to close this gap from the 30th to the 31st, that would be a pretty strong sign. I think we're really in the possibility in the realm of doing that because NVIDIA looks like it just completed a higher low. It's pressing up against its former highs. Broadcom, we have a position in that in the TheoTRADE chat. This is coming up off a higher low after bouncing off of former resistance turn support. That's looking strong. You take a look at Taiwan Semiconductor. That's faded so far today, but looking strong nonetheless. Advanced Micro Devices isn't looking as good as some of its peers, but Micron is looking strong and seems to be bouncing off of a higher low as well. So I like what's going on there. I will point out that we have seen a bit of a bid, a notable bid that is, enter into the bond market, and you're seeing long-term bonds outperform to the upside. That means duration is outperforming. That's usually a good sign that a low of significance is complete. Bonds could be choppy or go sideways until the end of the year. That's kind of what I'm looking at right now. But you take a look at crude oil. I am not a crude oil bull. I think crude oil is going to be heading lower over the next few months. And I think it's going to be a pretty sharp but brief decline. In fact, I would actually look for a low of significance to be complete in crude oil by January. So I think it's looking like we could see disinflation continue, which should be bullish for tech, which should be bullish for communications, those particular leaders. You can take a look at Bitcoin here. It was up very nicely. It still is up nicely. It's fading a bit from the high there, but it does look like a higher low is being complete. Ethereum just slipped into negative territory, but I think you could be in the process of forming the right shoulder of a inverted head and shoulders pattern there as well. I take a look at MicroStrategy, which is a name that we've had. It's been fading down from its highs of the day. Core Scientific, this one's actually been holding up quite a bit better, and we still have that position in Hut 8 Mining, which is rallying very nicely today. We did step aside on those nuclear stocks after getting stopped out, SMR and Nano Nuclear Energy. I still like the idea. I still like the theme. I am keeping a close watch on biotech. If you recall, this is a sector that we've been bullish on for quite some time, really going back to June, and we're making new highs here. I think you're going to see a lot of resolutions to the upside. Watching for a position in Rhythm Pharmaceuticals, that is looking pretty good at the moment. But the other big position that I have right now, and that we've been talking about for quite some time, is Tesla. Started buying Tesla back in September. It's a good start for today. It's rallying. Perhaps Musk's fate is tied to, the election outcome. We'll have our answer regarding that tomorrow. And then we did just have a halt in Trump's um, company here, Trump Media and Technology Group. It was up nicely on the day. It's faded. It's basically flat now. I know there's a lot of event contracts out there for, who's going to win, who's going to lose the election. It's basically back to 50-50. And I think the biggest thing for markets right now is that we know who wins either by the end of the night or early morning. Let's jump over to precious metals. You are seeing silver outperform gold to the upside. That is a good sign. Silver miners are also outperforming gold miners, but it's kind of a quiet day. A lot of it's going to depend on the dollar, which you're seeing sell off right now. It's losing some value against the Japanese yen, which I still think is the weakest currency in the entire world right now. And against the euro, you are seeing the euro catch a strong bid. I did take note of in particular movement in the futures market, a lot of institutional money piling into the euro. I think they might get burned. I still like the idea of the euro forming a lower high here and eventually continuing lower. But the biggest thing is that, like I said, if we have the election results tonight, I think it will definitely help the overall sentiment. And we still have the Fed meeting on Thursday, and we're looking at a 25 basis point rate cut. So I'm looking, what's interesting is that you had, bonds top out about a week in the case of the 10-year note, and then the day before in the 30-year bond when the Fed last cut rates, and now we're going into a rate cut in just a couple of days, and I think bonds will be bottoming. A couple other positions I want to discuss. Reddit, this was an AI timings web position that we captured for a really nice profit, over 40% gain in just a couple of weeks. We reduced this. We're letting this run, tighten up the stop loss. That is looking strong. AppLovin, another AI timings web name, continues to do well. This has been a big winner and a very rewarding stock for us, up another 4% on the day. So, this is one of those names that you continue to see higher highs and higher lows. And, as long as there aren't any serious disruptions from a geopolitical standpoint or from an election standpoint, I see no reason why this bull market in stocks cannot continue. So that's pretty much everything that I wanted to discuss with you today. We are going to be live at some point together here at TheoTRADE this evening, giving you some election coverage and how the market's responding to that. So stick around. We'll have details shortly. You don't want to miss it. And I'll see you this evening. And if not, then tomorrow again in the chat room. Hope to see you there. Thank you.